Wadla Yahweh Bashim Yoshai Bashim Kakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule and teach well. Peace and salutations to the brothers and the four corners of this earth, pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. And Brother Manatis asking Shalom. You know what I mean? It's another quick video, you know what I mean? I was running through this article a little bit, you know what I mean? Two precepts popped to mind. So those two will definitely come out. Anything else? Hey. To water your Bashim Yoshai for playing it in my spirit. Alright, so there we go. It says EC Chief Ursula von der Leyen says EU can no longer rely on US, meaning the United States. The bloc will have to focus on its own defense, according to the head of the European Commission. Right? Its President Ursula von der Leyen has said that the European Union must be prepared to take responsibility for its own defense as the United States is stepping back from its security commitment. RT reports her remarks signaled that the bloc should strengthen its military capabilities amid growing tensions with US President Donald Trump. The threat posed by Russia will not go away, and we know that the American focus will increasingly shift toward other regions. So there is no doubt peace in Europe requires that we take much greater responsibility for our own defense. Von der Leyen said in a speech at the European People's Party Congress in Valencia, Spain on Tuesday. In March, von der Leyen unveiled a plan to raise 800 billion euros, 910 billion, I believe that's US, to rearm the EU, as several member states look for ways to reduce military arrangements. Yeah, I did a video on that. Right, I forget the word they use is I forget the word. But the word basically means allocating funds from other sectors of the economy, right? Like the healthcare, education, all these things, and using it to rearm, to get them new toys. You know what I mean? It says Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor designate, said in February that Berlin must gradually achieve independence from the US. French President Emmanuel Macron, who has long argued that the EU can no longer outsource its defense to Washington, has expressed openness to extending France's nuclear umbrella to cover Germany. Slovakia, other EU members. Trump has called on NATO members in Europe to contribute a fair share to collective defense. He has also refused to offer security guarantees to Ukraine or commit US troops to a potential peacekeeping mission. Moscow has warned that the EU's military buildup will only escalate tensions. In an interview with TASS published on Tuesday, Nikola Patrushev, a security advisor to President Vladimir Putin, accused Western countries of deploying the military machine against Russia and becoming delirious with nuclear apocalypse scenarios. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, I suppose, argued that the EU is willing to sacrifice its own economy to only to achieve the ideological goal of defeating Russia. Yeah, you understand? So we see the EU, NATO pulling away, well, America pulling away from NATO, from its commitments to NATO, being that big brother country to seek their own, seek their own agenda, I suppose. That's the word, you know, to be accurate then. But yeah, they pulling away, they all splitting up. This thing that was together for years, right? That ran the world cohesively, so to speak. You know? And yet still they have the digitalization agenda, the MOTB agenda to enforce. And all these things going to come into play, and you would see, as time comes, once your eyes open, you would see how seamlessly they do it. You understand? Even though they're not, you know what I mean, relying on buddy as they once were, you'd see how seamless they're going to transition into that era, to this new era. Not that era again, it had to be this era, because it's already here. Right, so the first precept I have is Revelation 17. Scroll down to 15, right? It says, and those which thou sawest were where the horse sitteth, and multitudes and nations and tongues. Yeah, and this goes back to America because how much countries they have occupancy of, everywhere they have a military base, an embassy, what is known as our occupancy of a country. And that is what that goes to show. You understand? They in everybody behind, more or less. Yeah? They in everybody business. They wouldn't stay at home. They extend the borders. You understand? As scripture say they would not stay, they refuse to stay at home. I'll go get a precept after. Matter of fact, let me see if I get here. Stay at home. I wonder if that is a precept, boy. Let's bear with me a minute. As hell. So, mm, Habakkuk 2 and 5. It says, Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but carried unto him all nations, and he put unto him what all people. Yeah, you make yourself look like, why did I press that? You make yourself seem to look like, there's the place to be, like, say, gather unto himself all nations and all people. Make everybody want to come, they sell them that dream, because scriptures talk about the whole world wander after the beast. You understand? Even through that wine, even through that doctrine, that we are living, that is push. That is the greatest, no, no, is the fucking worst, the basement, the nastiest, the filthiest, the vilest. Right? Verse 16 it says, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, he shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For power had put it in their hearts to fulfill his wish, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of power shall be fulfilled. Right? The 10 horns shall hate the beast. And this is it coming to pass. Verse 17 might say, well, there's the will of power for them to agree and give the kingdom unto the beast until the words of power shall be fulfilled. Yeah. That is the will of the Lord for us, for them to form that union, that NATO. Right? And now is being expanded because well, the words of power shall be fulfilled. We in the end. This is another the hint or another sign that hey, this is the end of times. There's another end being part of the end being made manifest according to second address. Right? I believe like 15. It's 15 or 9, I believe. Either one. I don't remember exactly right now. I know it's second address for sure. Right? Nevertheless, right, and say, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, which is who? America. That is why the leader of America, or the person, the president who runs America, is known as what? The leader of the free world. Right? Because they control the world through the control of the elites. But you all know what I mean to say. Their policies and their laws are what is pushed on the Western Hemisphere, this which is known as the so-called free world. You understand? Which part in the Western Hemisphere you have you don't have tyrants per se. Oh gosh, some tyrants is not even down to use sorry dictatorships. You understand? That is an Eastern thing. Right? Now it is called the free world. Yeah? And that is why von der Leyen and Merz and all these people saying, hey, we go rely on ourselves, dog. You go so. Because what? There's the will of the Lord. You understand? The horn shall hate the beast. Slack, the horn shall hate the horn. Right? And this is evidence and proof of that. Right? And just when in the last stanza of the article, where it's they're willing to just for the ideological goal of defeating Russia. These what came to mind. Joel 3 and 10, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourself and come, ye all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither, cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Josaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Yeah? This is what the point is. Beat your plowshares into swords and your prune hooks into spears. You understand? Use what it takes to acquire your funds. Basically, use your economy. You understand? To fund your defense. And the weak nations such as the EU and so on and so forth, they say, you know what, we can't depend on America. We have to secure ourselves. So that means what, they were weak. And they was using what, they was relying on what? The strength of America. Unfortunately, they have to get it on their own now. You understand? They have to go about it on their own. Yeah? And this is just another prophecy in progress. You understand? That is all it is. And this article is all about the words of the Lord being proven to be true once again. Once again. Yeah? So I hope it was edifying. It was insightful to the spirit and power of Yahweh Basham Yeshai Basham Kakodash. Until next time, Shalom.